Hi there, this is Art and Such with my Rainbow Loom tutorial for Gimli from the Hobbit. It goes with the rest of the set. So for this pattern, you're going to be needing some brown bands. If you have two shades, that's great because we want the beard and the gloves to be a little bit lighter. I'm using a kind of a caramel color here. If you have an orange, maybe something tan, those would also be options. And I'm using more of a gold kind of band for the belt. If you have a bead you'd like to use there, you could do that as well. I'm using a lighter shade of gray and a darker shade of gray for the silver parts of his armor or outfit. If you have silver or maybe a gel white, those would probably work as well. If you only have one shade of gray, that's okay. Do what you can with the materials you have on hand. For tools, you're going to be wanting and needing a hook, and you can also use a holding hook if that's a help to you. A couple of C-clips. For my eyes, I'm going to be using two little pearl beads, and I'll be threading them off with some dental floss. I'll show you what that looks like. And my pupils are drawn on with a black Sharpie or permanent marker. And you can do this before or after. You're just going to take the lid off and make a nice dot in the middle. And then we've got our loom, which is going to be in the standard offset configuration, so the middle row is a little higher than the sides. If your loom is level and that's how you prefer it, just adjust accordingly. Okay, I feel like that's everything we need to get started. Two other notes I'll tell you. Because his coat is very thick and his gloves, his body are thick, there are times when I've used 3 or 4 bands at a time. If you're looking to preserve your bands, or that's too much for you to comfortably work with, when I say 3 or 4, if you'd prefer to do 2 or 3 in place of 4, use your discretion. And if you feel like you'd like the legs to be a little shorter, or the body a little bit shorter, or the beard a little bit longer, you'll just add to or deduct from the total number of rows in that section, but you'll set it up in the same way, loop the same way. Without further ado, I have the first arm made. I'm going to show you how to make it, and then I'll ask you to pause and make the second one on your own so that you'll end up with 2. So I'm using my lighter colored bands. You can use 2 of the caramel lighter brown or 3. Wrap it on your hook 1, 2, 3 times. Put that onto 2 bands of the same color. Slide it over the edge of your hook. Make sure you get all the loops. You should be able to move it back and forth. And before you replace the other end, you'll take a single, find a band that isn't too stretchy here, take a single and wrap it 1, 2, 3 times. I'm going to wrap this once or twice extra because it's stretched out. And then replace. Again, if that's looking a little bit challenging, you can put both sides on like so. So the wrapped one on the 2, and then wrap one on the side and just pull this over. But the idea is you want to have a wrapped single between the 2 sides. And this is going to go onto the 2 of the darker brown if you're switching browns. So put them on the end and slide all the pieces through. Keep them in order if you're able to. Replace. Take another 2 brown bands. Slide it on and replace. We're going to switch to the light gray. Put on 1 set of double bands, so 2 bands together, slide it through. replace. And going to the darker gray, I'm going to put 2 on, slide it, and then another 2 dark gray. And almost on the arms here, 2 dark brown. Now this last set, if you are looking to save your brown, it's going to be sort of covered up here. So if you want to use another color there or continue with the gray, it's okay. You can pause and go back, and one more time, you are looking for 2 or 3 bands, you can choose, wrapped, pulled onto 2 of the same caramel brown, wrap another band and get it in the middle. Then we have 2 sets of dark brown, 1 set of light gray, 2 sets of dark gray, 1 set of light brown. Those are your arms. And for your boots, which again you are welcome to adjust, you can make them longer, shorter, slimmer, thicker. To get this effect, we are looking at using only the dark brown bands, and we'll start with 3 bands, wrap them on the hook once and twice, pull it onto 2 brown bands, and once more. I want to get 2 in the middle, so you can wrap it right on, or you can replace it, wrap 1, 2, 3, and then bring one part over and get that wrapped one in between. Then this will go on to 2 brown bands. I'm not doubling anything over, just keeping them as they are. Another 2. And another 2. That will make a set of 3 sets of double bands together. So 2, we'll go through the parts again in a minute here, do it all together. And I used 4 bands for the next set, and then 4 for the set after that. And that's all we need for the boots, but I'll tell you the pieces again in just a second. And 4. So it was 3 bands wrapped, slid onto 2. We got 1 in the middle. It just keeps it from having a big gap there. That went onto 2 sets of double brown. Oh, sorry, 3 sets of double brown, and then 2 sets of 4 brown. And you can pause here and get your other boot at the ready. Next, we're going to be coming to the loom. I have the first stage set up for you. I'll just show you again what it looks like in the end. So this bottom part is like silver or light gray, and that's the effect you're going to get following the loom. And this is the length we're going to get of the body. So you can make it a little shorter or a little longer if you want to. But the setup is as follows. There are 2 bands placed on each set of pegs. And from the top we start going down diagonally to either side. On either side you'll lay down the sets of 2 until you reach the second peg from the bottom, and then you'll switch to light gray. The other side mirrors it. And in the middle you'll start with double brown bands and go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times. And the last 3 sets of doubles are going to be that silver. So I'll get you to pause and fill up your loom. The whole loom is in use, and the bottom sections where it looks clear, those are grays and grays. From here we can add on the arms. You'll take the loops that are on the hook and transfer them to the top side pegs. It doesn't matter which one you put on which side. And for the boots, you'll take 2 light gray, slide it through all of the bands that are on your hook. So that your boots are on. If you want them pointing a certain way, you can turn one around or take it off and put it back, whatever works for you. And we're going to lay that across from the bottommost peg on one side to the bottommost peg on the other side, so it goes across. And then you'll get between those legs, take the band and pull it up over the bottom center so that it comes over that peg in the middle. Alright, that looks good for our initial body setup. We can add on our holding bands. I used and would recommend using double bands or 2 bands at a time for the triangle holding bands. It'll add to that thickness and keep the coat nice and compact. If you are trying to save your bands, you can get by with 1, but I'm going to use 2 at a time. And I'll lay them down diagonally across the second bands from the top. Sorry, not diagonally, in a triangle form. And we'll repeat that below on the third pegs down. So this is the third one in the middle, the third one on the side, the third one on the other side, and it'll make a triangle. We'll continue doing that until we reach the bottom. And for the very bottom one, I'm going to just switch to the light gray. I think you would be okay with either though. Let me lay these on and then I'll show you what it looks like. I gotta tell you, I've had this pattern on my to-do list for, I would say months, but I think it's probably been years. And every time I looked at the picture, I was a little overwhelmed, but I got going on it today and it actually went pretty smoothly. It took about 2 hours to design with a couple of little snags along the way. But I'm happy with the way it turned out. I'm going to use 2 light gray for the bottom triangle. And then we have one more thing to do before we loop up the body. I will be adding the belt on afterwards. So the other part is to add on the side extension, and that's going to thicken it up. Otherwise, you would lose almost half of the body width that you see. For our side extension, we're going to be using the brown that we have in the rest of the coat. And I'll take a single band, wrap it, just as I'm pausing, it's only because I'm looking at my notes here. I'm going to wrap it twice, and it's going to go onto, we're going to make a chain using 12 sets of double or 2 bands. So there's 1, 2. I think I had meant to make this part as well, and I didn't, but they're pretty fast to make. 3. If this is something you're sort of new to and you want to put it on a separate loom and loom it up that way, that's an option as well. You could lay them down in sets of 2 and then just loop it up to the top if that's more comfortable. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 'Something didn't go through there. 10, 11, 12, So much for fast and easy, but it's coming along here. And 12. I'm going to take the part that's on the hook and transfer those loops to the top band on the top peg on the side. So it's going to go on top of the arm. And let me turn this around so you can sort of see. We're going to stretch it down and grab any piece from the chain. If you're kind of grabbing it more from the top, then you want to do that for the others as best you can. Just keep it from twisting as best you can. And we're pulling one part out of each chain link down and over the peg, over each peg as it goes down in sequence. I'm just keeping this stretched out as I go, and you should be able to see the loops in there. Just grab one piece. I'm going to go a little bit faster on the next one, but we'll try and make this nice and clear here. And I'm going to stop when I get to the third peg from the bottom. So there's going to be a little bit left hanging out. I feel like we're going to have just a little more jutting out than I wanted. So if you want to bring it a little lower, oh no, it does go to the next one. Okay, it looked a little funny in my picture. Sorry, it goes to the second peg from the bottom there. And you don't put anything on the bottom, on the very bottom peg. So we'll do the other one a little bit faster. It's a single wrapped twice, and we have 12 sets of 2. These bands I'm working with are almost a little sticky, I would say. I got a whole bunch, like 3 big containers, super cheap yesterday, and thought to myself, I haven't loomed in a while, and I've got a little bit of time today. Well, today was tomorrow. Thought I would give this a try. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. I'm going to turn the loom around. One second here. And on the side that does not have a chain, I'll transfer these to the top side peg above the, well, onto the arm bands. We stretch it down and we bring each band out of each set over here. So same as on the other side. Doing this at a bit of an awkward angle so that I'm still sort of on camera. Almost done this part. And I think then we'll be ready to loop up the body. So that's not so bad. The head is pretty straightforward. When we get to it, we'll have a little extension to put on. The eyes, if you've done eyes before or have a strategy that works for you, should be easy breezy. We will have a little bit of work to do at the neck, but we'll get through it. Okay, we are ready to loop up. I think I'm gonna start on the side, and the band with the legs on it is sitting on top. It's a little harder to see this color, I guess. We want to get the 2 light gray that are coming from the peg above. So we're going to push back the band with the legs, scoop up the bottom 2 bands that are light gray, and bring them onto the peg above. For the next set, we're looking at the bottom 2 brown, and they're coming from above. Push back your holding band, which is gray, and push back the brown side extension band, and you're going to take the bottom 2 only and bring them up through the others. So I think you'll be moving about 3 bands out of the way to get there. Loop it up. You want the bottom 2, the next bottom 2, they should be loose on the underside of the peg. Now if it helps, you can use a hook or your fingers and pull them to the side, and that way when you grab them, you'll know that you've got the right ones. Whatever works for you, you can angle your loom, and you're going to keep coming up this way. So go under the holding bands, under your side extension bands, and collect only the bottom 2. And we'll go right to the top of the loom. This time I picked one of those, so I have to go back and find the missing one. There it is, I think. Yeah. If you are finding that there's a lot of tension on your band and you need to loosen up some of the bottom ones as you go, you can do so. Just make sure that they're looped in. I find it's easier to release some tension once you've worked your way up a little bit on all of them. I'll show you what I mean in a minute. Let's reach into the arms and bring up the bottom 2, which are coming diagonally from center, and bring those back over, return them to the center. So you would have seen them under here at the top of the loom. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And I might be a little bit off camera here, so my apologies. I want to do this efficiently and without breaking anything. So same thing, you're taking the bottom 2 bands every time, and you're pushing back any holding bands, extension bands, securing bands that might be in your way. If you need to pause, rewind, fast forward, you know what to do. And when we get to the top in just a minute here, we'll loop in diagonally again. I can feel my loom is starting to get a bit tight here, so wiggle that around. Okay, let's go back to the bottom once both sides have been looped up and in. And on the bottom, you'll grab the pale gray that's sitting between the legs, bring it up over to over the peg above, and we're going to loop straight up. You shouldn't really have anything in your way. You're bringing up 2 bands, 2 loops every time. We'll go right to the top of the loom. And I'm going to put this onto 2 brown bands because it's going to be a lot easier to work with and attach, and we won't worry about everything coming apart. Okay, so I'm going to take the open part of the hook, point it away from me. This is a small hook, it's hard to see, but it's pointing away. Bring it straight down through all of the bands on the top. Grab these 2 bands, same color, slide it up, put one end or the other end over, and that's how this is going to stay. Now you can even let go of the holding hook for the moment, or use it, or use your fingers. And the next thing, and you can use another holding hook, but the next thing we want to do is remove all of this from the loom. So I'm going to carefully hold on to these and start releasing. I do not love these bands I'm working with, but they're holding together, and I feel like the color's working for me. So they will do. Some parts and some looms and some bands are easier to, it's easier to release with your fingers more, where it will come off more easily, and sometimes you have to work with it a little bit using the back part of your hook. So this is the body. It's a little bit long, but the beard will be covering part of it, and the belt will break that up a bit in the middle. And you can just set that aside for the moment. Okay, we've got our body. We're gonna move on to the head, the face. Move these dark brown ones out of my way a little. And I started with 2 dark gray bands coming from the top center to the top side. Repeated that going in the other direction. Two dark gray coming down one time on either, will come down one time on either side. This whole project is symmetrical, and I do apologize, I haven't made any weapons for him, so that's something you can play around with, experiment. Let me just get the next part laid out here. 2 light gray bands, top center to second center. For the weapons, you could use some doubled over bands. If you wanted to use silver or gray, double them over like so, and make a chain like out of those. You could also use something like maybe a paper clip, unfolded wires are good for those. I don't know, like I say, you can get creative. Cardboard, tin foil. I'd be curious to know what you come up with. I'm gonna use, I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but we do want a skin tone for the face. Whatever you have that works for you. I am almost out of the tan color I used on my original here. So I've got this one, which is a little bit more pink. I'm gonna use that and come down twice in the middle with double bands. Second to third, third to fourth. And once on either side with double bands. Second to third. And then we're gonna be switching to our caramel color, or whatever you are choosing to use for the beard. Come down once on each row. And I'm gonna bring it in towards the middle diagonally, 4th side to 5th center. And 4th side to 5th center. There, you might be able to do this in a slightly different way where you don't close up the face, because as I say, it will be covered by the beard. But this is how I did it, and I was satisfied with the way it worked out. So I'm going to show you the method I used, and hopefully it'll work for you too. We are going to take a single skin tone, stretch it, twist it, bring it back over, bring it across the second pegs down from the top. That'll be a triangle holding band. I'm going to take a caramel band, twist it, double it over, put it across your 4th pegs down. And the remaining set is going to be for the eyes. So, really quickly, I always like to do this. If you are using bands for your eyes, let's say that you use, I might suggest black just because brown will blend in. I would take 2 single blacks, wrap each one 3 times, and then you're going to, so I am using beads, but I'm going to show you both ways because not everyone has beads on hand or wants to use them. Single skin tone, double it over, slide it on. And those can be your eyes. Or if you have pony beads that they just go like with a larger hole, just put them on your hook and slide them onto a doubled over single. For these little beads that I'm using, I'll use my dental floss method. You've seen me do this before if you've watched my other videos. The floss goes through both of the beads. Okay, so the dental floss has gone through both. I have my doubled over single. I'll put the floss through the doubled over single, and then I bring it back over, and it's going to come back through the beads from the opposite direction. I'm doing this slowly, not to drag this out or bore you. If you know how, you are free to jump along. But if you haven't done this before or are finding it a little challenging, I'll do this nice and slowly. So it's gone back through one bead, it's gone back through the other. Yes, one of these beads has two pupils drawn on. I don't know why, but I'm going to work with it here. And I slide the beads onto the band. If it's really, really, really not working, it could be that the hole in your beads are just too small, but usually this method works pretty well. And whether you use bands or larger beads or little beads like this, your next step will be to get your doubled over single band with the eyes on it onto the third pegs down from the top. So these are the eyes coming across, and reach get between the eyes here, bring it over. Oh, hold on. We want to actually separate the band the eyes are on between the eyes. Like so. So I got between the eyes, and I took 1/2 of it, and I put it over the third peg down in the middle. You can draw your pupils on now, you might have them on already, or you can add them later. Okay, next up, let's put our side extension on for the face. That will give him the little helmet. If you don't want it, or you want it to be, I guess you could leave this part out completely. You would lose that little side gray though, which I feel is important to his character. And you can also play around with, I don't know, you could play around with the chain, but what I did, which I'll show you now, is I took a light colored gray, wrapped it on my hook twice. You can do once or twice. I put it onto 2 sets of light gray. So here are 2 light gray bands. I'm going to slide it through and replace, and repeat that, so it will go through another 2 gray bands, light gray. And then I switched it to dark gray for the next set. And the bands that are on the hook will go onto the top side. And if you stretch it out, you should find a kind of a loop at the bottom, and that's going to come down 2 pegs and sit on the peg that is holding the eyes. That's your third peg down. And just grab a little bit from the chain in between. So I mean, potentially you could take, I'm going to take it from this upper part. Potentially you could take one of those chains out. It might be a little snugger. I think that would be an option you could entertain if you wanted it to maybe not bulge out as much. If you want that roundness, then keep it with the 2 sets of light gray. Again, I'm going to take a single, wrap it twice, put it on 2 light gray, and then another 2 light gray, and then 2 dark gray. So same as the other side. If you want to only have 1 set of the light gray, that's something you can do to make it sit. I think that would sit a little bit snugger. The top goes on the top, and the bottom loops. I'm going to dig for those. You don't want to go, they're there. I'm going to go onto the peg that has the eyes, and take one from the side chain and bring it over. I know it's a little bit hard to see the gray, and the same with the white and the clear. I'm hoping you're able to make out all those parts on here. The next part, it's a little bit awkward, but we're gonna do our best. So there are two ways that you can, we're gonna put the body on. So take the loops that are on your hook and put those on the 5th peg down in the middle, which is where you ended the body, like the head layout. Now you can press the body onto the pegs below, like so, and just really scrunch it into over the pegs and scrunch it down. I wouldn't recommend this because we're going to be laying the bands on top, but that will keep it from getting away from you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put it right on the side. I'm sliding the body to the side. It's going to be a bit bulky and awkward, as I say, a little bit in the way. You know what, let me lift up the camera and see if that's easier to show it that way. Okay, so I've put the body on that 5th peg down and I've just pulled it to the side, and we're going to be laying down bands on top, but that way it will be a little bit out of the way. I used to have a tripod. I don't have a tripod anymore. That made this work a little bit better. Maybe it's something I ought to get again. We're going to take Caramel Brown's the beard color now, and 2 at a time come down from the 4th peg down on the side. That's where you left off. We're going to do 3 times, 3 sets of 2. In the middle, where you've got that body sitting, we'll also come down with 3 sets of 2 bands, beard color. And this is the one kind of tricky part. On the close, or the side that's where I've stuck my body over, I'm going to put down 2 bands and another 2 bands and another 2 and come down the 3 times. It just might be more likely to pop up there, and don't panic if it does. Just press it back on, press it back down, and try your best. Okay, for this part I used single holding bands. So I just took 1 band, I didn't double it over, I didn't put 2. And I'm going to lay this from the 5th peg down to the 5th peg down. And I'll bring it above the center 5th peg and down onto the center 6th peg. So this one is actually making a triangle. Diamond. I'm really fuzzy today. Diamond. And beneath that we're going to do an upside down triangle. So that will go across your 6th pegs down on the side and your 7th peg down on the bottom, it looks like. And then I'm taking just 3 single bands, and we're gonna do just wrap them on top. So take a single, and on the bottom, or sorry, the 6th peg down on your side, that's where you left off, we're gonna take a single, twist, wrap, twist, wrap. You can do it tight or you can do it loose. So you can, I'm just wrapping it like twice with 2 twists. If you want it to be really tight and like a knotty, bulbous, tight look, you can do that. If you want to only wrap it once, it'll be a bit of a looser knot there. And I think we are all ready to loop up. This is going faster than I thought it would. Excellent. Let me show you the loom this way again. This is what we have. You can pause and double check. And we are going to start looping up. And bear with me. I'm going to do this just a little bit slowly because I want to make sure I get everything this time. So I think I'm going to start with the middle. In the middle, we'll come push back that holding band, securing band, bring up the 2 over and onto the peg above. I grabbed something wrong there. Or something. I think it's okay. I'm gonna get this fixed. Okay, there. Go in for the next two, push back the triangle band and loop up once. That sort of slipped off the peg above, but it's in the right place, so if yours looks a little different, don't worry. And then stop when you get to the 5th peg from the top. So you're going to loop up, I think that's 3 times in the middle. Now in the middle, I want to make sure I get this all. We have to get inside the looped up beard band, inside the band that the body is attached to, and then you want to try to get the next 2, which in my case they're coming from the right side, and we're going to bring them over, and then we want to get the next 2. Again, if you want to go underneath and use your hook or hand and pull them out, if you think maybe you didn't get the right band, you can lay it back. You do want to hopefully see these nice teardrop shapes. If it looks like it's really twisting around and you see it pulling from elsewhere, you might have to try again. For the most part, it's gonna work out even if it's a little bit twisty, but try your best here. And then the last 2 are gonna come up. So I'm gonna stop the middle part there, and no, actually, you know what, I'll come up 2 more times in the middle and I'll stop before, so bring up the next 2 skin tones, push back the band with the eyes, and then stop when you're at the 2nd peg from the top. Do not forget to loop this one, but we're going to come back to it. On either side, you're coming under that wrapped band at the bottom and looping it up. And now we should be able to go straight to the top. Push back your holding bands, push back your extension. Try to ignore and get past the body there. I know it's in the way. We're almost on this part. And then I think we just have the belt to go. So I'm going for the bottom 2 bands every time. And the last 2 are going to be the dark gray, which are coming from above. And we're going to bring them back up and over. Same thing on the other side, get into that wrapped band and loop straight up, bottom 2 bands only, so push up any holding bands, beard pieces, body pieces, loops that are in the way. Push back the bands with the eyes on it. You've got a set of skin tone, a set of gray, and then the last 2 into the middle, and very, very, very important, triple check that you're getting the last 2 center bands coming up. If you want or need to release some tension, you can do that now, which I think I'm going to do. It's also a good way to sort of see if anything's come loose so you can secure it as you go. And I just want to take some of these tighter parts out. And I'm holding the top. You can see my hands are on the top here, just to make sure nothing comes loose that we haven't yet secured. Okay. I will take 1 dark gray band. You can use 2 if you want for extra security. And just as I did with the body, I'm going to put the hook through, grab the band, pull it up, replace, and this time I'm going to put one end over the other and bring it over the top of the hook. Once you have that secure in your finger, a C-clip, or your hook, you can remove the rest of your Gimli from the loom. If you used beads and you haven't put the eyes in, the pupils on, you can add them in now or at any point hereafter. Adjust your eyes if you need to. On the back, I'll slide my hook under a couple of bands and just pull that securing band under. Keeps it from flopping about, and then that's going to go onto a C-clip. I also like to put my C-clip under another band on the body. Not too far, but just nearby, and that keeps it from flopping about. Okay, So I think, yeah, it looks like all we need now is the belt. And for that, let me reference my notes here. I'm taking 3 gold bands. You can adjust according to the thickness of your band and what you're feeling like here. But we'll take those and wrap them once or twice. I'm going to do twice. And put that onto a doubled over gold band. I think silver would also work. Or gray. It's a little hard to tell in some of the pictures, but whichever you prefer. Now you might want to use a separate holding hook as you're doing this. Whatever works best for you. I'm going to show you the method I used. I'm going to take a single brown band that matches my coat, my cloak, double it over, and I'm just going to slide it under one end and then replace it. And I'll repeat that. So take a single brown, double it over. Well, I'm not exactly repeating it because now I'm taking it under the brown ones that are there. Okay, so I'm making a chain through the piece that's on there already. I'll do it 2 more times. So double over a single brown, put it on the end, slide it through the brown, and my other gold end is still on here this whole time from the doubled over band. And a 4th one, almost on here. And then I'm going to put that onto just a single band. If you want to keep using doubled over ones, that's fine. You'll see why I want the single one in a minute here. And now I can take that off. You can put that on another holding hook or keep it on your finger. You could also put it on the back side of the hook because we're going to do the same thing with the other side. So if you want to see it again, I'm going to show you again here. So this is one side of the doubled over single. I'm doing exactly what I did before. Doubled over brown, put it on the end of the hook and slide those gold ones over and replace. Doubled over single. Now we're going to make a chain, so I'm sliding over the brown. I think my lighting in here maybe isn't so good either for the camera. And again, I'm hoping you can see this okay. I'm trying my best to angle it and slow it down for you. And a 4th one. And I'll put that onto a single band. And now I can take it off. I've got one single and another single. Folded over or doubled over. Not doubled over, but folded over there. And I'm basically just going to reach it around the body. So let me move that to my other hand. Bring it across. Come to the back. I'll put my hook through again. You can slide it under a band that's on the back, or you can just use a C-clip to secure. Oops, where'd you go? Okay, I'm gonna maybe slide so it's easier the first time around. Put one end over the other there and can slide it through, can slide another part through. When you're kind of happy with it, just put it on a C-clip and you're all set. If you want to weave it up and use the same C-clip that you have on, that's another option. I'm also seeing these little hairs here which are distracting me. Okay, so let's try that again. It just popped right off there. No matter. And you can also put one end over the other so it's more like a, what do you call it, a slip knot? I don't know. But there, one under the other. Let's see if I can get it on the C-clip now before it tops away from me. Then you can secure the C-clip on the body. if you want to just make sure it doesn't slide down. Okay, move your eyes to where you need them. These eyes are kind of funny. I find sometimes once I draw the pupils on, they don't really sit where I want them to sit. But the good news is we are done. There is your Gimli. It's a troll, right? I've got more in the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit sets. I'll put this in the playlist and I hope you check them out. And I thank you for watching. Have a good day, guys.